What's going on, guys? This is Chandler Smith, and I haven't been completely honest with you. The truth is, I've thought about this a lot, and I decided that I wanted to share with you where my wealth really came from. And so with all of that being said, let's jump into it. All right, guys, if you're new to the channel, I've been investing in real estate for the last 8 years, and I currently own over $17 million worth of real estate. I also run a sales region that will do over $25 million in sales just this summer. And I've gotten to a really cool place in life. I have this YouTube channel. However, I do feel that I owe it to you to share the truth about how I was able to acquire this wealth. The only thing that I ask you to do is hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell. And now that we've covered that, I want you to know that anyone that has accomplished something or become successful, they want to be able to say that they're self-made. And I've always done just that. I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to be a multimillionaire in my 20s and that my net worth will be $10 million before I'm 31 years old. Those are things that I'm proud of. I've worked extremely hard to get here, and I'm very proud of that. And in some of the videos I've done recently, I've had lots of people say, oh, he's only there because of daddy's money. He's only there because he has a rich lawyer dad that's helped him to get there. He only is at where he's at because he's received money from someone, and that makes it way easier to be able to accomplish what he's accomplished. And the truth is, when I've gotten these comments, I have wanted to fight against them. I've wanted to say, that's bull, that's crap, you don't know what you're talking about. But the truth is, that isn't completely true. And that's why I want to open up and be very transparent in this video, because the reality is I would not be where I'm at, and I would not have the wealth that I have if it wasn't for my dad. Let me explain. My dad was raised in a family of 4 kids, and he was raised by some incredible parents that were incredible grandparents. My grandpa was a carpenter, and my grandma worked in the bank. Now, they also did a bunch of odd jobs, and they were incredible people that would take the shirt off their own back and give it to anyone. However, they were never people that could be considered financially well off or successful. As a matter of fact, finances were always a struggle for them. Neither of them went to college, and my dad was the first and only child to be able to go and complete college. And so growing up, money was always extremely tight. Now, my dad went on to go to college, and he found a passion for political science. And when you get a political science degree, there isn't a whole lot that you can do with it. And so he decided to go to law school. Now, while in law school, him and my mom worked extremely hard. Him going through law school and also working a part-time job, my mom working a full-time job, and they would do all kinds of stuff in their off time, or at least the little off time they could find. They would go to craft fairs and sell dolls and other things. They would do random jobs. They would refinish tubs. They would tile floors. They would do whatever they could to make the money that they could to try and mitigate the amount of debt that they were taking on for my dad to be able to go through law school, because they weren't really receiving, they weren't receiving any help to be able to do that. Now, during this time, they also had me and my brother. And after going through law school and working crazy hours and crazy jobs, got to the point where my dad could take the bar exam. He took the bar exam and he failed. Now, I don't remember this because I was young, but I know that it hit hard. I know my dad still talks about it, how he got home and he had to go and just run and cry while he was running because it was so hard to recognize he'd done all that work and failed the bar. He worked hard, prepared again, and the second time he was able to pass the bar. After passing the bar, we went and we moved into a house. This is the first of many houses that I would end up living in, because while my dad was trying to start a law practice, and keep in mind, when you're starting as a lawyer, they don't pay you well. I think he was getting paid like $20,000 or $30,000 a year. It was something absolutely ridiculous after going to years of college to then get this job as a lawyer, getting paid nothing. But they were able to afford a small house, and while working, my dad was still doing off jobs, my mom was doing off jobs and working as a teacher, and on top of that, they were renovating this house. Now, this isn't the only house they renovated, and from a very young age, the pattern was that my parents would work extremely hard during the week, And then we would also work extremely hard during the weekend, whether it was yard work, whether it was refinishing this house, whatever it was, we were constantly working. Now, I don't want it to sound like I had a hard childhood, because it was quite the opposite. My parents were always working, but work was fun, work was productive, work was something that made us feel good, and it set incredible habits for me because working hard was just part of life, and it was a good part of life. So we moved from house to house to house, renovating those houses while my dad was also working as a lawyer, while he was also doing off jobs, refinishing tubs, doing tile, doing a myriad of other things that he could do. And this gave him the ability to make money on the side. It also gave him the ability to teach us how to work very hard a lot of the time. And that was because we had an incredible example. On top of working hard, my dad always found a way for us to participate in sports. There was never a sport that I wanted to participate that not only did I get to participate, but my dad was there for everything. Now, for some people, being there for everything means that your parents attend all of the games. For me, it means that my dad attended all of the games and all of the practices. And for the majority of my teams growing up, he was the coach. He was the man. And on top of all of the work that he was doing, he always made me and my siblings feel like we were the priority. Not only did we have sports and did we have a great example of hard work, but my dad was also what I would call a yes man. Anytime anyone ever needed help, my dad was there to help. Whether it was service with someone in our church, whether someone in our neighborhood needed help moving, whether it was the old lady down the street that needed her sprinklers fixed or her lawn mowed or whatever it is, my dad was there. And because we were renovating homes, a lot of times we weren't necessarily in the nicest neighborhoods. I don't want you to take this in the wrong way. The reason I share it with you is they were different people from different circumstances than we were from. And my dad was adamant about teaching us to treat everyone as our equal, to be able to learn how to show empathy and to serve those people. And this is something that has always stuck with me, and I hope it continues to stick with me because it taught me some incredible lessons, and it also helped me to understand people and to learn how to communicate with them. The other thing that came with my dad working as a lawyer is he started out not making a lot of money, and he started out having to deal with some hard clients, but he never moved away from that. Very quickly, he learned that he was very good, and he probably always had been very good at communicating with people, at negotiating, at dealing in a litigation type setting, which means in the courtroom with a judge or with a jury. I don't want to sound arrogant, but the truth is I think that my dad is the best lawyer in all of Idaho, if not the entire United States. Now, I'm his son, so I get to feel that way, but my dad is the man. And the better he got, the better jobs he got, the more money he made, and he's turned into an extremely successful lawyer. And through this, I got to watch him negotiate. I got to see the way that he showed empathy to people. I got to watch him treat people the way that they needed to be treated and help them through some of their darkest days and their hardest problems, and go through that while showing up to all of my sporting events and showing me and my siblings how to work hard. And that was something that always stuck with me. As I got older, I hit the point where I was 8 years old, and at this time my little brother was 6, and I decided that I wanted a bike. Now, my brother, being 2 years younger, he always wanted what I wanted, so both of us wanted a bike. And we went to our dad and we said, "Dad, we really want a bike." And he said, "Great, here's what you can do. You can go out, you can work hard, and if you can save up half of the money for this bike, then you can buy it." And so we sat down and we talked with him, and we figured that the best way for us to do that was to start a lawn mowing business. So we printed up flyers, we went door to door, we hustled up some work, and we got a couple clients. Now, looking back, I don't know why they hired us at 8 and 6, probably because they knew my parents and they were willing to do it. But my dad then became the quality control guy. And we learned how to work hard at those ages, but also we did not know how to cut a clean lawn. And so through trial and error and the help of my dad playing quality control, we started mowing these lawns. And lots of different issues would come up, whether it was scheduling, whether it was we blew up a sprinkler, whether it was, an issue with the client being frustrated, whatever it is. And my dad was there to teach us how to work through those things, and he would make us do it. And if we needed help, he was there to help, but he really let us go and do it. And we saved up and we were able to afford those bikes. Now, after that, he said, "Look, anything that you can afford, you can buy, and you should save your money, but go and work, and what you want, you can go and get." And so me and my brother worked harder. We ran into more problems. We ran into more issues. We learned more things. We both got really good at communicating with customers. We got good at dealing with issues. We also had a couple fights, and a couple is probably an understatement, because in business with your brother, when you both think the other one's lazy, it gets a little sketchy. But we worked through all of those things. Now, on top of all of this, we were involved in sports. We were trying to get good grades in school. And so we got more and more lawns to where we had over a dozen lawns, and we're in junior high or high school. And it was really hard when you're doing 2-a-days with football and you're doing school and you're trying to mow these lawns. And so there was my dad helping fill in the gaps. Some days he'd help us plow them out, whether he was mowing and we were trimming or whatever it was. Other days, we legitimately were so busy that we couldn't do it. So my dad would go and work a long day as a lawyer and come home before we were finished with practice, miss watching us at practice so that he could go and cut the lawns. There were even some nights, I remember, where we had so many lawns that we'd finish and it would be after dark, and we'd be out there mowing the lawn with my dad after dark, and the neighbor would come out and chew us out saying, "Why are you mowing so late? We're trying to get to bed." And my dad would take the heat for that and be there to help us. I specifically remember one guy that we mowed his lawn, and there was a day where we were in 2-a-days, we were exhausted, we were dealing with other stuff, and my dad said, "Look guys, I got the lawn, don't worry about it, I'll go take care of it." And he's out there mowing, and this happened probably more than it should have, where our dad as a lawyer is out mowing our lawns for us because we had to keep up with them. And I still remember one of the customers came out and said, "Look, I'm sick of my lawyer mowing my lawn." And my dad's like, "Oh, I'm just helping them while they're getting through 2-a-days and they've got school and they've got this." And he's like, "No, I don't care what the excuse is. I don't want my lawyer mowing my lawn." That was who my dad was. Again, never missing a sporting event, always being there, and always being there to help us with these lawns and to teach us to keep the commitments that we made and to show us how to work hard. He could have made way more money working 30 minutes late as a lawyer than going out and mowing our lawns. But that wasn't the principle he was teaching us. He was teaching us that he was always going to be there for us. He was teaching us to keep those commitments. He was teaching us to work hard. And through all of that, he also always found the time to show up for those people that were in need or that needed service or that needed anything else. Through high school, I was so grateful for my dad and his example and his help. And I saved up enough money to be able to get a car and to save money to serve a mission for my church. And then I left for 2 years to go on that mission. Now, when I came back, I wanted to get right into college and all of my money was gone. And so I had to go to my parents and I had to say, "Hey, is there any way that I can borrow money?" And I went out and I applied for jobs, and for some reason, it didn't hit me that I should go mow lawns again. I wanted to get a real job. And so I applied to 30 plus places and I just couldn't get accepted anywhere. I couldn't find a job. And so my parents were willing to front me the money to be able to pay for that first semester of college. And while I was there, that's when I ran into someone that said, "Hey, come and knock doors and sell pest control this summer." So again, I had to go to my parents to front me some money to be able to afford to get out there. And if you know my story, I'm not going to dive into it, but I sucked at knocking doors and selling pest control. And while I was struggling, I'd call my dad and I'd say, "Dad, I suck at this. I'm working so hard, it's not working." And he'd say, "No, son, you got this. Keep working hard. It's going to come through. Like, I know you, it's going to work out." And it did. That summer, in 3.5 months, I ended up making over $96,000. And then I went out the next year and I made over $140,000. And I went out the next year and I made $250,000. And I just continued to make more and more money doing this job. And then I got to the point where I wanted to start investing in real estate. And my dad had never invested in real estate. And so I put a lot of time into research and into finding other mentors. But at the end of the day, I went back to my dad and I said, "Dad, this is the research I've done. This is how I feel. I think I've got an investment that I feel good about. Should I do it?" And after I walked through it, he helped me kind of walk through the process. And he's like, "Look, it sounds like you feel good about it. Make the jump. Like, trust yourself. Do it." Sorry guys, I didn't want this to be an emotional video, but I made the jump on that first property. And then I went to the next property and same thing. It was, "Dad, I feel good about this. Should I do it?" and he would help me walk through it. I had issues in leadership trying to figure out how to train sales reps, how to navigate all of the issues that came with that. I had more properties, and through all of those decisions, I always found myself going back to my dad. And my dad wasn't ever a sales manager. My dad never invested in real estate. To this day, he still just owns his house. He doesn't own any other real estate. But all of these decisions, I continued to find myself going back to my dad. Sorry, it's interesting though, because as I've progressed and as I've gotten to the point where, I'm buying more and more property, every property to this day, even though I know way more about real estate investing than my dad does, I will call up my dad and I'll say, Dad, here's the deal, here's what I'm thinking, and he'll just walk through it with me. He'll just say, yeah, like, sounds like you know what you're doing. What about this? Have you thought about this? There have been times where he said, that's a lot of debt. What have you done to protect yourself? How do you feel about this? But at the end of the day, I would have the answers to his questions, and he'd say, well, son, it sounds like you've done your research. Follow your gut. Like, you know what you're doing. Go for it. And it's so interesting because my dad has always been there for those things. So I thought it was fitting that, these messages came in, and I decided to do this video right now as we're going into Father's Day, because I just want to thank my dad for being the best ever. And so for all of those people in the comments that say that the only reason that I'm here is because of my dad, you're right. It's 100% the truth. I would not be here if it wasn't for him. And all I can say is I'm really sorry that you don't have a dad like I do, because 100% it has played a huge role in me getting to the point where I'm at. I want to say to my dad and all of the dads out there, happy Father's Day. And I want my dad to know that my biggest goal in life is being able to be the kind of father that he's been to me for my own kids, because it has played such a huge role, and I'm so grateful for him and the sacrifice that he has made and the impact that he's had on me, because I would not be in the place that I am. And I really, really hope that I can be the person that he wants me to be and the kind of person he was with my children, so that they can have at least close to a similar example. So with all of that being said, I want to wish all the fathers out there a happy Father's Day. And guys, have a great day.